All right. So fantastic tonight. Listen, everybody, we're so glad to have you here with us tonight. And just kind of give you just a brief, let you know who we are, what we're all about. The name of our company is Akana, and it means in the hands of God. And we started our company in 4/20 of 2019 with the CBD products, essential oils, and wellness. We moved over into 2021 with what we call the flat belly lifestyle. And you are so privileged tonight to be able to hear from the person who brought all of this information, this technology to us. We're proud that we have really over 30,000 customers, and we reinvest 1% of our gross profit to empower undeserved communities. And we have a full medical advisory board. And that's what you're going to hear tonight. One of those persons who is a naturopathic doctor. He was involved in emergency medicine for many, many years, and he really got tired of shocking folk and bringing them back from the dead, and he just went back doing the same thing they were doing. So he has invested his life into this technology, and we are so much the better because he's joined forces with us here at Akana. Please welcome everybody, Dr. Eric Prince. Take it away, Dr. Prince.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. I want to say hello to everyone that I met over the weekend. I just want to say I had a great time. It was short, but it was to the point. Thank you guys for coming in and listening to the lesson that I did. It's a very powerful lesson, a lot of information. And so now what we want to do is we want to understand the information. We want to understand what is the biofeedback all about, because a lot of people scan, but you couldn't really go over the information as you would like to. So that's why we set up the Zoom call, so we can have everybody on at once so we can explain it. And then yes, if you have any questions thereafter, then we can open the floor for questions. So let's take a look at where we start. Okay, so let's start with the color code so you guys can have an idea of what you're looking at. So the bioscan is going to show you, a color code. The green represents normal range. Normal range represents where we should be, where our value should be. And you have to understand that these values came out of hundreds of thousands of tests that were done on people in order to gather this information. So they've went through the research in order to gather these numbers in order to create a normal range where we should be as it pertains to these items that we're going to go over. Mildly abnormal. Mildly abnormal is the beginning of imbalance. It's the beginning of imbalance. But imbalance.
Excuse me, Dr. Prince, can I interrupt?
Yes.
I'm visually impaired, so I can't see the color codes. Can you please talk numbers so I can have a better understanding?
Okay, well, I'm gonna talk numbers. I'll talk numbers and color codes. How's that to make sure?
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. So I must talk first about the color code, and then I'm gonna begin to explain, once we get to the actual scan, how the numbers work based upon the color code. But you want to know what the color code is first, because normal range has certain numbers in which the numbers out of that range let you know if you're moving into mild, moderate, and severe. So the color code is green to blue to yellow, which is moderate, to red, which is severe. So as you progress from normal and you move in towards the severe, what you're seeing is a progression happening in the body. The bioscan is able to ascertain what's going on in your body at the cellular level, but it also understands the subatomic level. Difference between biofeedback from a quantum perspective is that we don't look at the larger objects as Newtonian physics do, which is what the medical system is predicated on now. They were built upon the Newtonian physics model. That's the science of large objects and how they move and the predictability of large objects. But when it comes to quantum bioscanning, Now you're talking about how and the behavior of subatomic particles, atoms, and how they move. But you have to remember that the larger molecules, the larger masses, are built upon subatomic particles. But there are two different laws and rules that govern both. So that's why the bioscan, the quantum bioscan, is so important, because it helps us to understand what's going on at the smallest scale, so that we can understand why certain alarms or imbalances are happening on a larger scale. Sorry, I'm putting some on my lips. Excuse me. There we go. Now I got some vitamin E. So let's take a look at cardiovascular and the cerebral vascular report card. Now, for some of you, I don't know if everyone has their reports, but if you have your report, if you took pictures of your report, if your report was emailed to you, then you want to pull it out. You want to pull it out now so that you can take a look at yours as I explain this, so it can make perfect sense to you. The first report that we do is the cardiovascular and cerebral vascular report card, which is your heart and your brain. You take a look. Well, the first column of the report represents the items tested. The second column represents normal range. The third column represents your values, and of course, the color code represents where you are in real time. So let's talk about the items that are actually being tested before we go into the numbers, before we go into the color code. And if you can, if everybody can kind of mute themselves so I won't hear what's going on in the household, then that'll be great. So when it comes to blood viscosity is the first report. And blood viscosity, let me explain how the report reads. So everything that's in normal range is always going to be in the green. Everything that's in normal range is always going to be in green, but you're gonna see indicators to the right or to the left of that green. So an indicator to the right of the green means increase in the item tested. An indicator to the left of the green means decrease in the items that is being tested. So if we start off with blood viscosity at the top, blood viscosity is usually going to be normal or to the right. Normal or to the right, which means it's either going to be normal or it's going to be at an increase. If you're seeing an increase in your blood viscosity, that lets you know that your blood is starting to get thicker. And as the blood gets thicker, it starts to move slower. And of course, it's the transportation for nutrients and oxygen. So that makes sense that if the blood is getting thicker, then that means that the metabolism, the delivery, and the elimination of waste from the cells is going to be slowed down, hindered, or impeded. So this lets us know if we need to start working on cleaning our blood, which a lot of times most people are seeing a mild, moderate, or severe increase in blood viscosity. The best analogy I can give is, of course, the viscosity of oil in the car, and how we have to change our oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Because if we didn't, then the viscosity of the oil in our car would increase to the point where it would lock up your engine. That's one of the reasons why we changed the oil. Well, same thing in the body. When that blood starts to slow down and it starts to move slower, then that means that you're not delivering oxygen as rapidly to the cells as you need in order for them to perform their function. Every cell in your body needs oxygen. So that's why it's important to make sure that if you're looking at an increase in blood viscosity, and then also I drop down, I'm gonna skip over cholesterol for a second and go to blood fat. Blood fat is usually moving hand in hand with blood viscosity, because a lot of times it's the fatty deposits, the triglycerides in the blood, that is assisting in increasing the viscosity of the blood. So a lot of times you may see an increase in viscosity and also an increase in blood fat. That means your blood needs to be clean. It needs to be cleaned and it needs to be thinned out a little bit. Some people may be on actual blood thinners. Well, that's what's happening. If you're on blood thinners, it's because you have an increase in viscosity, sometimes an increase in blood fat, It may show on the scan, it may not show. But if it shows, you definitely know that the blood needs to be cleaned and thinned out. Cholesterol, that's either going to be normal or to the right, which means an increase. Normal or at an increase. The normal range for cholesterol crystals in this particular report is, let's say, 50, 56 to 67. This person is at a 67, but if you go out to the hundredths of a decimal point, and now you're looking at a slight increase. Well, you don't really need any dietary cholesterol. The liver produces a sufficient amount of cholesterol. So when we consume animal products, we're adding more cholesterol to a system that doesn't need cholesterol. So that tends to elevate, of course, your cholesterol levels. So you may see it. If you're taking medication, you may not see it. But nonetheless, if you're seeing an elevation in cholesterol, it's an indication that, of course, you're probably at the point where you need to start cutting back on some of those animal products or just cutting them out. We drop down to vascular resistance. Vascular resistance. So vascular resistance is either going to be normal or it's going to be to the right, an increase in vascular resistance. So like in this particular item, it's saying that there's a moderate abnormality. So that to the right. So that means that there's a moderate increase in the resistance or the pressure inside the vascular system. Now, this can reflect as go back to it. I don't want to go to there. I don't want to go there yet. This can reflect. So I'll let you know when I want to change it, okay? But right now, I want to stay right here for a second. When it comes to vascular resistance, that can reflect in your blood pressure. So a lot of people that may be on blood pressure medication, sometimes you'll see an elevation or an increase of resistance in your vascular system. Also is how you process stress, or how you process your environment. Some of us may think that we're processing or managing stress well. And the truth is we may not be managing stress well, but the vascular resistance is an indication that, you may need to make some changes in how you're processing your environment and how you're managing your stress. Now, if we drop down to vascular elasticity. So vascular elasticity is either going to be normal or it's going to be to the left, which means a decrease. Now, anytime there's a decrease in elasticity, that means that there's an increase in plaque buildup inside of your blood vessels. Now you can switch to the chart so I can show them. So take a look at this diagram. Atherosclerosis is basically a hardening of the arteries, So if you look at the first blood vessel, this is the way it's supposed to look. This is what you would consider normal or optimal. But then over time, as you can see, if you go to the second vessel, you're starting to gradually see plaque building up on the inside. And then as it continues to progress, now you're seeing more plaque to the point until it becomes blocked. So in a sense, you're looking at normal, mild, moderate, and severe. This is happening throughout our whole body. We're progressing. That's what it means to be patient until the crisis shows up. We're being patient while this process is going on in our body pretty much throughout our life based upon what we're consuming, based upon what we're eating. And so that's why it's important to know what's going on in our body before the crisis. That's why we call it disease prevention, because we've helped people to avoid heart attacks and strokes because we saw it coming on the scan. Well, unfortunately, in the Newtonian world, based upon the medical industry, it's all about waiting until the crisis shows up and managing the crisis while you have it. So that's the difference. You go back to the heart and brain report. So vascular resistance, vascular elasticity. So when it says that there's a decrease in elasticity, now you know that if there's a decrease in elasticity, that means that there's an increase in plaque buildup. That's usually diet related. Drop down to myocardial blood demand. myocardial blood demand. The word myocardial refers to heart. So this is saying that the myocardial blood demand, this is the amount of blood your heart demands every 60 seconds in order to continue its function, its economy, and its perfusion. Every 60 seconds. This item is usually going to be green, normal, or to the right. Because what happens is that as the heart has to work harder, the demand increases. The heart works harder, the demand increases. That means that every 60 seconds, remember I told you, every cell in your body, and you have about 50 trillion cells in your body. Every last one of them cells require oxygen when they need it. So if the demand starts falling behind, then that means that there's a good chance that those cells aren't getting what they need when they need it. What does that look like? It looks like you walking up a flight of stairs and having to catch your breath when you get up top. In other words, you got to wait until your body catches up. You have to wait until that oxygen that you just expended gets to those cells so that you can recover from just walking up the stairs. Well, doesn't that make sense that if you're dealing with elevation of viscosity, blood fat, and the circulation is slowing down, then that means you're not going to be as active as you were when you was in your prime, when the cells were clearer. Now they are clogged a little bit. Now the heart is working a little bit harder. So now you're not as vital as you used to be. You're not able to do a lot of the things that you once did when you were quote unquote in your youth. But a lot of this stuff can be reversed. Let's look at myocardial blood perfusion volume. This is usually going to be normal or to the left. Normal or to the left. When it says that there's a decrease, this is how you read it. There's a decrease in the volume of blood in the heart required for perfusion. Perfusion is the exchange of gases in and out of the tissue, in and out of the blood. Perfusion is the exchange of gases. So there's a certain volume required for proper perfusion, and that makes sense because if the heart is working harder, then that means that the perfusion is going to be delayed or it's going to be decreased. So in this particular model, you're seeing a moderate decrease in the volume of blood required for perfusion. This usually has to do with the strength of your heart. And there are three things that weaken the heart. One is a lack of exercise. Two is stress. Three is, lack of exercise, diet, yeah. Lack of exercise, stress, and diet. Hey, I got to get a brief reminder. So a lack of exercise, diet, and stress tends to weaken the heart. And when that happens, of course, the volume of perfusion drops, as well as a couple other things we're going to point out. The next one is myocardial oxygen consumption. Now, this is in the normal on this one, but a lot of times when there's an increase in the demand of the heart, obviously there's going to be an increase in the consumption of oxygen for the heart. So if you're looking at normal, it's going to be either normal or to the right, which means an increase. Stroke volume ties in with myocardial blood perfusion volume. So stroke means contraction. This particular item is either going to be green or to the left. So a stroke volume represents one contraction. So this is saying that there's a mild decrease in the volume of blood in the heart when it contracts. Now, let me explain why that's important, because they call it ejection fraction. An ejection fraction represents the ability of your heart to contract and push that blood out with that one powerful contraction. Case in point, let's take a marathon runner. Marathon runner has a strong heart. So they only need maybe literally 42 beats per minute. 42 beats per minute to supply the whole body with everything it needs to get through a 26-mile run. 26 miles. That's a long run. But because their heart is strong, they're able to do it with less contraction. You get it? So let's take a person who doesn't run, doesn't exercise at all. They may require anywhere from 85 to 90 beats per minute in order to put that same output out to the rest of the body that the marathon runner requires. So one day, if you feel like it, take your pulse for a minute, find out what your pulse is, and then multiply that times 60, which is an hour, then multiply that times 24, which is a day, and then multiply that times 365 days a year. And you'll get an idea of how much your heart is working over the course of an entire year. And then compare that to someone whose heart is beating at 50, and you're going to see an astronomical difference in how much this heart is working as opposed to this heart. We don't look at the wear and tear of our bodies like we do our cars. In fact, we probably take care of our cars a little bit more than our bodies. Anyway, let's drop down to the left ventricular ejection impedance. Left ventricular ejection impedance. This is either going to be normal or to the right. What does that mean? That means that there's going to be an increase in the impedance. Impedance is like an obstacle or resistance or an obstruction. If there's an increase in the obstruction to the left ventricle ejecting the blood out, then we have to understand, why is that left ventricle so important? That left ventricle is important because that carries the oxygenated blood. When the blood comes in from respiration and it goes through the pulmonary vein sends that blood down through the left atrium, from the left atrium into the left ventricle. The left ventricle now has the job of sending that blood throughout the whole body to satisfy and supply all the cells with the oxygen that they need to perform. So if there is an impedance to that left ventricle ejecting that blood out, then that means that there's going to be a delay and maybe even a deficiency somewhere in the body because of that impedance in the heart. Well, let's go back up for a second to vascular elasticity. Vascular elasticity. That's the one right up top. And up on this chart, it's in the yellow. So let's say that there's plaque buildup around the heart at the top. Well, visualize a heart. We don't have one right here, but visualize a heart and the blood vessels at the top that's coming off the aorta, because the aorta is a large artery coming off the heart, but then you have smaller blood vessels coming off the aorta. If those smaller blood vessels are dealing with plaque buildup, then when that left ventricle ejects the blood out and it sends it through the aorta, and the blood goes from the aorta through the smaller vessels, if those smaller vessels are blocked, then there's going to be an impedance. There's going to be some resistance to that blood flowing to the rest of the body. Well, the problem is that those vessels also have to go up to the brain. So if you have plaque on top of the heart and you have an increase in your impedance of that blood leaving the left ventricle, then yeah, you're going to start to develop things like memory loss. It could lead to Alzheimer's, could lead to Parkinson's, because the brain is above the heart, which means the heart has to pump against gravity in order to get to the brain. Everything else is pretty much at heart level or below. So that's why disease begins in the head and it goes down. So we always want to take into consideration what's going on with the brain and keep it perfused as much as possible. Left ventricular effective pump power. So now we're talking about the strength of the heart. On this diagram, you're seeing a decrease in the pump power. So it's either going to be normal or to the left, a decrease. So a decrease in pump power, as you know, is a weakening of your heart. Well, if you look at this chart, you can also see that from myocardial perfusion volume is also at a decrease, explains why the pump power is also at a decrease, or shall I say the pump power at a decrease explains why the perfusion volume is at a decrease. See, what we're doing is we're looking at all the aspects of the heart. It's one organ, but we're trying to break it apart so you can understand what's going on in different aspects of your heart so that you can troubleshoot and restore the function in these particular areas. So the strength of your heart, like I said, diet, stress, and a lack of exercise weakens the heart. But you can strengthen the heart by knowing that your heart is actually even at a decrease. Sometimes people don't notice. Sometimes people think that the heart is just functioning and working just as good as it was when you was in your 30s or your 40s, but there's a good chance it's not. So just knowing where it's at gives you the ability, gives you the ability to make the certain changes that you need in order to get your heart strong, in order to restore your respiration and your circulation and your perfusion to all of your tissues, all of your cells in your body, so that your body can continue to metabolize over and over whenever you need it. Now we drop down to coronary artery elasticity. Some of you may be seeing some plaque buildup here. Now, this is a danger zone because coronary arteries are the arteries on your heart. Those are the arteries supplying your heart with blood, nutrients, and oxygen. So if you have a decrease in elasticity in your coronary arteries, then now you know that you have plaque building up on your coronary arteries, and that is what leads to chest pain. That is what leads to chest pressure. That's what leads to heart attacks. So by us seeing and knowing that you have plaque buildup, whether it's in the mild, moderate, or severe, then that gives you an opportunity to do something now before it gets into the red, because when it gets into the red, it can't go anymore. It can't go anywhere else. As it's moving into the red from that chart that you saw, that means that, you know what, can you take me back to that chart for a second? So normal represents blood vessel all the way to your left. It's normal, it's clean, it's clear. The question is, at what age were you when your arteries look like that? Well, sometimes it's anywhere between 13 and 18. But you know, once you start getting into the 20s, all of the bad lifestyle and the diet from your earlier years is starting to catch up to you. So then now you start to see the plaque buildup. That means that you're not putting out the same strength, the same metabolism, the same output as you did when you were younger. This is why we call the program age reversal detoxification, because once we know that you can clean and clear this plaque out of your arteries, which I've been doing for over 10 years, I've been reversing heart disease for over 10 years. It's not hard. It's just a matter of making some dietary changes, detoxifying your body, and wherever you are on your scan, if it says mild, moderate, or severe, then you now have the opportunity to start to dissolve the plaque that's on the inside. And so now you're going from blocked arteries back to a clean and clear artery without surgery, without bypass surgery, without stents, without all this stuff that requires you to go under the knife. And nobody wants to go under the knife when it pertains to their heart. All right, take me back to the report. So that's coronary artery. So if you're seeing anything in the coronary artery area that's blue, yellow, or red, you definitely need to start planning to cleanse ASAP. Don't wait, because what we just showed you, we're showing you the future. We're showing you the future. If you decided never to do anything else from this moment, then guess what? This stuff keeps on going. It keeps on progressing. Inertia means that you have to act upon the opposing force in the direction in which something is moving. If you don't act upon it, it keeps on going in that direction. And that's what the bioscan is showing you. It's showing you the law of inertia, that we're all moving towards a heart attack. That's what startled me when I discovered that all of the animal protein that we've been consuming is clogging up our arteries, and it's moving all of us towards a heart attack. It's not when, it's not if you're going to have a heart attack, it's about when you're going to have it. And then the next one is coronary perfusion pressure. Coronary perfusion pressure. This is either going to be, well, believe it or not, this one can be normal, it can be increased, or it can be at a decrease. Well, the truth is you don't want it at an increase. You don't want it at a decrease. Well, let's talk about the increase first. The increase on here, it says a moderate increase in the perfusion pressure. This is saying that there's an increase in pressure inside your coronary arteries, an increase in pressure inside your coronary arteries. Well, a person can be dealing with plaque buildup in their coronary arteries, but they can also be dealing with pressure buildup inside their coronary arteries. Or you can be dealing with plaque buildup inside your coronary arteries, and you can be dealing with a decrease in pressure inside your coronary arteries. If it's to the right, and if you notice that coronary perfusion pressure is similar to vascular resistance, because vascular resistance is how you're processing your environment, and it's also how you're managing your stress. So don't you know that in your body, when you are in a chronic state of stress and you don't know it, everything is squeezing. The vessels on your heart, the vessels in your body, they're squeezing because your body is being stressed. That's a response. They call it the fight or flight response. And the reason it does that is because it has to shift the blood to certain parts of your body in order to prepare you for fight, fright, or flight. Fright, flight, fright. You know what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah, so your body has to get prepared. So stuff is shifting, blood is shifting. And if you're in a chronic state of stress, then what you're starting to do is elevate even the blood vessels on your heart based upon how you're processing your stress. Some of us have adapted to the way we process stress, thinking that it's okay. But until you realize that how you're processing, how you're managing it is not doing so well, then you have to decide at that point what to do, how to better manage it. And believe it or not, the detoxification process and program helps you to manage stress better, because a lot of times when your body is toxic, you're going to manage situations differently. I work with Chicago public school teachers, and if anybody is stressed, it's those Chicago public school teachers. They reported during the cleanse that they were able to manage the children and the staff better. So that means that they're not just stressed from the children, they're also stressed from their staff people. But they managed it better during the cleanse, and that's when I knew that this process was good at curbing stress. The last two are the only two dealing with the brain: cerebral blood vessel elasticity, brain tissue blood supply status. So if you're looking at something in that area, if it's plaque buildup, the plaque, when it says cerebral blood vessel elasticity, that's going to be either normal or to the left, just like with the coronary arteries, just like with the vascular resistance. It's kind of like having heart disease in the brain. It's the same thing. Plaque is going to build up in the brain. So if we're looking at, when we do our scanning, we're looking at a mild plaque buildup in the cerebral blood vessels, I treat that very urgently, because what that means is that even though it's only mild, there's not a lot of room in your brain to let plaque build up. So don't wait until it gets to the yellow and then decide that you want to start doing something about it. Now, if it's even in the blue, start now working on it, because we dissolve plaque. We don't cure heart disease. No, that's not even a phrase, curing. No, we dissolve it and we reverse the process of degeneration in the body. And how do you reverse that? You dissolve the plaque in your coronary arteries, you dissolve the plaque in your cerebral blood vessels, and you return everything back to its balance. And then you stop the bleeding. You stop doing the things that's causing the plaque to build up. And you start to create a lifestyle that's going to help you maintain clean, clear, and nice flowing arteries, okay? Blood supply status. Blood supply status is either going to be normal or to the left as well. What I want to say about this is that sometimes you may have a blood supply status in the blue or the yellow and the red, even though you don't have any plaque buildup in the brain. Well, what is that telling me? That means that the issue is not in the brain. The issue is in your heart. Remember I said the heart has to pump against gravity. If there's anything going on in the heart, then there's a good chance that the blood is not going to get to the brain. So therefore, you want to work on what's going on in the heart, so the heart can be sufficient and efficient in getting the blood all the way up to the brain. Well, how do you dissolve the plaque? Yes, you detox. Make sure you connect with Fred or Anita or Dr. Ross and get and learn the details about the program and the process, because that's what's going to dissolve it. It's a natural process. Everything is organic, and there's nothing synthetic. It's about putting your body into a state where you can release and flush out the system. We'll get to the next report too, so we can go to the next one. So let's look at your gastrointestinal function. This is important because guess what? 70% of your immune system is in your gut. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So when it says gastrointestinal tract, so let's look at the first item. It says pepsin secretion coefficient. Pepsin secretion coefficient. Pepsin is an enzyme that breaks down protein. In this particular item, is going to be either normal or to the left. Normal or to the left, which means that there can be a decrease in the pepsin in your system. Once you start depleting your pepsin, guess what you're not doing as efficiently? You're not breaking down your protein. You deplete the pepsin, you don't break down the protein as well. If you don't break down your protein, and that can be animal protein or plant protein, but if you're not breaking it down, then you're putting stress on your kidneys. And this is why we're seeing a lot of dialysis places pop up, because we're shutting down our kidneys because we're not breaking down the protein as we used to. So now the kidneys are being damaged because the kidneys weren't designed to filter out larger molecules of protein. Smaller, broken down particles of protein, but not the larger ones. So if you're not breaking down your protein, and most people aren't, if you've been eating meat most of your life, which a lot of us have, at least for me, until 2004, I think I was like 34, 35, I stopped eating meat. But that doesn't mean still I wasn't breaking down on protein. I had to now replenish the enzymes that I depleted while I was consuming animal protein. So it took me a few years to get everything back in place. But pepsin is is the enzyme designed to help you break down your protein. And if you're not breaking it down, these are some of the things that's going to happen. Look at the next one. It says gastric peristalsis. Stalsis. Gastric peristalsis function. Peristalsis represents the muscle contraction in your gastrointestinal tract. Your whole gastrointestinal tract is lined with circular muscle, longitudinal muscle, horizontal muscle, but nonetheless, muscle. Well, what is muscle used for? It's used for helping to squeeze and move the food through your system like toothpaste. Just like you squeeze toothpaste out, you have to use your muscles from your hands to squeeze that toothpaste, else it's not going to go anywhere. Well, the same thing with gastric peristalsis. Gastric represents your stomach. So it's saying that in the stomach, the peristalsis function, or shall I say the muscle contraction, on this particular report, it's saying that it's at a decrease. So if there's a decrease in pepsin, a decrease in the muscle contraction in your stomach, and then it also says on the next one, a decrease in gastric absorption. These are both referring to your stomach. What do we break down in our stomach? Protein. That's where protein is broken down, because you have the hydrochloric acid and you have enzymes that assist you in breaking down the protein. Why? Because what we really need from our protein is we need 9 essential amino acids. 9 of the essential amino acids. You can actually look them up on your time. Look up the 9 essential amino acids. The 9 essential amino acids. We need about 20 amino acids, but The body has the other. The body has the rest of them. From our diet, we need 9 of those essential amino acids. Meat has those essential amino acids, but guess what? A banana also has all of those essential amino acids. Now, I'm not saying you got to sit up and eat bananas all day, but let's look at the contrast. I'm vegan, so of course I eat a lot of bananas because I work out. I do a lot of smoothies, so I'm still getting my protein. I'm still getting those 9 essential amino acids. But the difference is I'm not expending as much energy getting my amino acids as a person, of course, who's consuming a chicken breast. The chicken breast is going to take a lot longer to break down. And what else you're going to require? You're going to require more pepsin, more digestive enzymes, more hydrochloric acid to break down. So it's a more invasive process than it is if you're eating plant-based. Well, that makes sense. So now we understand what's probably helping to clog up our arteries, because if we can't break it down, then of course we can't digest it, then we can't process it, then guess what it has to be? It has to be stored. And that's what the body do. It stores waste in fat tissue. So the weight gain that you're experiencing is nothing but stored waste that you have to detox out of your body. Once you start detoxing your body, the body liquefies the adipose tissue, which is the fat tissue, comes out as water. Now the weight comes down just like that. So gastric peristalsis, gastric absorption. So if you're not absorbing the amino acids, it could be 2 reasons. If you're not absorbing the amino acids, there are 2 reasons. One reason could be mucus. Mucus hinders absorption. Well, what does mucus come from? Yeah, mucus comes from meat, dairy, and cooked food. Meat, dairy, and cooked food. Those are 3 substances that cause you to create mucus in the body. And remember, we came up on a live diet. We were created on a live diet. Meat was a circumstance that happened somewhere in history and in the past, but it was never meant to be our ultimate food. So that's why we tend to create mucus. Now, if you were diligent in eating cooked food along with your raw food in the same meal, then guess what? You can cut down on mucus production. They've done tests that show that mucus production is cut down when you combine your raw food, your raw salads with your cooked food. But if you're just eating cooked food, which a lot of us do, especially when we go to barbecues, we go to cookouts, and sometimes at holiday dinners we may have some raw food, but nonetheless, all those particular events is about heavy meat, heavy carbs, all the stuff that makes you sleepy. Why are you sleepy? Because you have to rally all of this energy now to break it down. And so one other thing I want to say about peristalsis is that when animal protein does not have any dietary fiber. Animal protein does not have any dietary fiber, which makes the peristalsis, it makes it more challenging to move the food through the system, which means it starts to wear down your muscles, your peristaltic muscles. If you're eating meat for a long time, and I'm not just picking on people that eat meat, but I'm telling you what I know that has triggered most of the degenerative diseases that I have helped people to reverse over the years. If I don't give you the truth and the foundation of why this stuff even exists, then none of this makes sense. Meat consumption weakens the muscle. So I give you an example. Everyone can lift a 5-pound dumbbell, correct? 5 pounds is easy. I don't care who you are, you can lift 5-pound dumbbell. If I tell you to lift that 5-pound dumbbell for 2 days, how easy will it be after about 36 hours? It's not going to be easy because you're starting to wear on that muscle. Well, that's the same thing we're doing from the time we got teeth and we started consuming animal protein. It was a lot easier when we were young. But as time went on, it started to wear down our peristaltic action, which slowed down our digestion. When it slows down our digestion, that means that the elimination is also going to be slow. But let me ask you this. Is the consumption slowing down? Nope. That means that your elimination process is slowing down, but the consumption actually might be speeding up. So that's the problem. If you don't start to eliminate more, eliminate faster, eliminate more efficiently, and stop consuming as much, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for all degenerative diseases that's possible to the human body. Let's look at the small intestine. So now you understand peristalsis. Now, if we go into the small intestines, it's the same thing. Peristalsis is the muscle contraction that moves food through the small intestines. Also, absorption in the small intestines. Now, we break down protein in the stomach, but we break down our vitamins and nutrients and our carbohydrates in our small intestines. So that's where our nutrients are absorbed. So if there's any mucus in the system, then there's a good chance that you're going to have malabsorption. And yeah, you can be overweight and be deficient. You can be overweight and be malnourished. See, the image that we've seen of malnourished is someone who's thin and lean and not getting enough food. No, that's not the real image of malnourished. Malnourished is a person that's eating a lot of food, eating a lot of calories, but you're not absorbing the vitamins and minerals from the food that you're eating because of the mucus buildup from the food that you're eating. So one of the products during the cleanse is called a parasite mucus buster. Parasite mucus buster. We need to get rid of the parasites, and you got them. You probably don't hear about them or see them now, but they're causing signs and symptoms in your body. Parasites, and then also the mucus accumulation. Until we flush out the mucus, clean out the mucus, we can't promote absorption, which means if we don't clear the mucus out, if we don't clear the parasites out, then we can't correct your vitamin and mineral deficiency. The vitamin and mineral deficiency. Well, by the time we turn a certain age, we're so deficient, we don't know it because it takes a while for us to actually experience the signs and symptoms of certain vitamins and mineral deficiency. One thing is in the brain. When the brain goes without B6, vitamin B6 for a long time, the person starts to develop certain signs of Parkinson's. I know because I had a brother who had a severe vitamin 6 deficiency, and he was starting to move towards Parkinson's. Fogginess, couldn't think. Well, once we corrected the deficiency, guess what? He turned into a guru. In fact, he's a bodybuilder, and he became 100% vegan. Yeah, his name is Andrew. He's told this story, so I don't have a problem telling his name. But Andrew is now with us, as a fitness coach. So peristaltic action and absorption is the key. We got to clean the gut. We got to flush out the mucus in order to promote absorption. All right, go to the next one. And to answer the question, somebody asked a question about, the gut being in bad shape. Yeah, there's nothing but the cleanse that can help your gut. I don't care. There's not any medication at the hospital, not one procedure that they can do that's going to bring you back into perfect balance. You got to let the body heal itself. You got to let your body heal itself, because that's what it does. It heals itself. What we have to do is we have to remove the obstacles. And thank you, Scott. I appreciate you too, okay? So we have to remove the obstacles to the body's natural healing process. That's what the bioscan does. It shows us what the obstacles are, and we're able to remove them. And once we remove them, guess what happens? The body starts healing itself. So look real quick at the gastrointestinal function. So gastrointestinal function, and yeah, time be flying around here, good grief. So look at large intestines peristalsis. Now you're starting to understand a little bit more. So gastrointestinal peristalsis means what? That there's the muscle contraction in the large intestines is either normal or at a decrease. Well, that goes back to digestion. If it's at a decrease, then your digestion is going to be slow. But if the next one, colonic absorption coefficient, has to do with how well your body is absorbing the water and the nutrients from the food and then creating the stool. Well, if it's at a decrease, that means that there's going to be some blockage in your large intestines. This can indicate that a person has some constipation and don't know it. So if it's normal or to the left, even though a person may be having bowel movements, the question is, well, is that bowel movement from today or is it from a few days ago? So don't get fooled by the fact that you're having bowel movement, but if your colonic absorption is at a decrease, then yes, you have some blockage. Next one is intestinal bacteria. So your intestinal bacteria is important because remember we said 70% of your immune system is in your gut. It's those microorganisms, that bacteria, that gut biome. That's what's keeping us alive. Without them, we cannot survive because they are the ones that creates the anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 different enzymes needed for the body to function. Yes, they create the enzymes. They're the ones that's helping us to function properly, and they're the ones helping the body to stay clean and free from pathogens and threats. So if you're not taking into consideration the billions of strains of communities of bacteria in your gut, which are working hard to keep you alive, then you're actually affecting your own health. So when you do the cleanse, we clean house. And when we clean house, we also have probiotics in our products. So we're cleaning house, the probiotics are helping, but at the same time, when the cleanse is over, then now you can reset, you can repopulate your gut with probiotics. Probiotics is the gut bacteria. And we know we can recommend something at the end of the cleanse also, but you want to reset your gut, get rid of all the harmful bacteria, and then put in the helpful probiotics. The last one is intraluminal pressure. This is either going to be normal or to the right. Well, we know why it's to the right because there's going to be an increase in pressure. Well, the pressure could also be due to the colonic absorption decrease. It could be due to the decrease in peristalsis in the large intestines. So you see, what this is explaining, it's explaining in what shape and what condition is your large intestines. Is it in the shape and condition that it was when you was in your 20s? If it's not, then you can't eat like you were eating in your 20s because your body is just not functioning like it did. So that means that you have to start modifying your lifestyle. But before you do that, clean your system out and then reschedule, reorder your eating and your diet and your lifestyle in a way where it allows your gastrointestinal tract to flow just as well as it did when you was in your 20s. Next report. So liver, this is important. I'm gonna run through this one and then we got one more. Well, actually we got two more. Liver function. What's important on this, of course, is I'm gonna start from the bottom on up. Liver fat content. Liver fat content. This is either gonna be normal or to the right. Normal or to the right. Anytime there's an increase in liver fat content, that means you have a fatty liver, that means you have a clogged filter. The liver is responsible for detoxifying your blood. If the filter is clogged, the blood gets polluted. But that explains why there's plaque buildup in the walls of the blood vessels. Anytime I help the person reverse heart disease, I had to first help them to flush their liver. It's not about getting a new liver. No, you don't have to get a new liver. So you don't have to get on a list or something. No. If you're moving towards liver failure, the medical doctors are not going to suggest what you really need. Their money is made in the liver transplant, not in the liver flush. You have to be clear of that. Their money is made in the liver transplant, not the liver flush. You want the liver flush. They want the liver transplant. There's a discrepancy here. It's okay to hurt their feelings because it's your body. You can hurt their feelings, say, look, y'all don't want to do that. I'm going to go natural. Man, I'm going to tell you, the natural process works over 99% of the time. The 1% is your faith. If you got just a little bit of faith, that mustard seed of faith is that 1%. Give us a 1%. We will flush the liver, reverse the heart disease, and now you're back in balance. Bile secretion, going from the bottom up. Bile is either going to be normal or to the left. Your bile is secreted by the liver. Bile helps to break down fat. We need fat because we burn it as fuel. We burn fat as fuel. But when the bile secretion starts to get low, it causes us to not be able to process, break down, and utilize that fat tissue. So we definitely want to flush the liver in order to get that back on point. Also, detoxification function, which is the next one up. So, of course, your liver is designed to clean and detoxify the blood. A lot of times, detoxification may still be normal because it takes a while before the liver starts to stop doing its job. The liver is always doing its job, but but sometimes it's at a cost. There's a lot of compensation that's happening within the body in order to keep it running. The body will fight until the end. The body is very resilient, but unfortunately, sometimes, if we don't work with your body, then we're working against the body. The energy production, that's important too. You definitely, a lot of energy is processed, metabolized in the liver. In fact, glucose is stored as glycogen in the liver. So therefore, anytime you're not getting enough sugar, your body will take the glycogen, turn it back into glucose, and utilize it when it needs to in order to keep your energy up. But a lot of times we have a lot of glycogen stored in our liver, which gives us a lot of energy. So that's why even when you're fasting, don't worry about not having enough sugar in your diet or in your regimen. Now, your liver, if it's a fatty liver, you want to get some of that glucose out of there. You want to get some of that fat out of there. You want to get the liver processing so it can get your body back in balance. And then, of course, protein metabolism. This goes back to the fact that, in order to break down a complete protein, you need enzymes. A lot of enzymes are also created in the liver. So when the liver gets clogged up, you can impair the protein, energy, and detoxification function. And these can be either to the right, normal, or to the left. There's going to be either a decrease in protein metabolism, a decrease in energy, or a decrease in detoxification function, or a decrease in bile secretion, but an increase in liver fat content. So here we want to flush the liver, okay? Next report. Kidneys. So your kidneys are extremely important. That's why we showed you these particular scan reports, because kidneys and liver is the life of the flesh. Now, they say the blood is the life of the flesh. The life of the flesh is in the blood. It is. So, and if anyone has to leave, I understand, we'll do this again also next week to make sure everybody gets a chance to get this information. But the goal here is that I want to show you that the things that are not in normal range, what's out of normal range, and how through the process we can put things back in normal range. I've been doing it for years. I stay in normal range because I'm now aware of the things that could be out of place. I use my intention. I use the process. I use my lifestyle in order to maintain a normal balance. It's not hard at all. In fact, it's much easier. Yeah, anytime your liver is fatty, that means that you have a clogged liver. That comes from years of what you eat. I don't know what you eat. I can only assume, unless you've been vegan all your life, but a lot of times vegans aren't going to have that type of liver, a fatty liver. They may have a norm, not to say that vegans are out of the clear. No, vegans have issues as well, depending on what type of food you eat. But if you've been eating animal protein for a while, then you're going to probably have a fatty liver by the time you turn 30. Also, for a lot of women, estrogen is broken down in two parts in your liver. Estrogen is broken down in two parts in your liver. And if your liver is fatty, then there's a good chance that you're not breaking down the estrogen, which means your body's going to encapsulate that estrogen into a fibroid and put it in your uterus. So anytime we reverse and shrink fibroids, we first had to detoxify the liver. And that's the root cause of it. Kidneys, urobilly, uric acid, blood, urea, nitrogen are 3 waste products that are filtered out of your body by the kidneys. This is what you need to know. These are 3 waste products that are filtered out of your body through the kidneys. They're either going to be in normal range or they're going to be to the right. It can be mild, moderate, or severe, but as the indicators move to the right, in other words, as there's an increase in the waste products in your kidneys, you know what that means. That means that your kidneys aren't filtering as well as they should these waste products out. So that's how we know at what stage the kidneys are in. Doesn't mean you have kidney failure. It just means that the kidneys are at subpar. They're not functioning as well as they should. So we just need to know what that means. And then the last one has to do with your gastrointestinal tract as well, because it says proteinuria. What does that mean? It's just like it looks, protein in the urine. Protein in the urine. If there's protein in the urine, then that means that your glycocalyx lining around your kidneys, which is the lining that protects the kidneys, that means that that lining is damaged. When that lining gets damaged, and then also if you're not breaking down the protein, then now you have, that's what I meant by earlier, but you have larger molecules of protein that are getting into the kidneys and damaging your filtration system. That means that now you're going to see more protein in the urine. Sometimes it looks like bubbles when you're peeing. I'm sorry, when you're urinating. Let me use the proper word. When you're urinating, you may see a lot of bubbles in there. That's sometimes that's an indication of, protein in the urine. At this point, we want to flush and detoxify the kidneys until we start moving those indicators from red to yellow back to green. We want to get back to green, and that's how you know that you flush your kidneys. So now we know where our balance is, but now we see where our imbalance is. That's why I say that we're going from crisis care to holistic health care. Crisis care is us not knowing any of this stuff. And as you can see, it makes sense. If we don't know any of this stuff, we're all moving from green throughout our life until we get to the red. That's crisis. That means that we're waiting through this whole stage until we get to the point where everything is at a severe abnormality. Now we're in the medical arena. Now we're in their territory. Now they can justify their surgeries, operations, procedures, medications, and not have any suits or anybody question them about it as if they have a license to kill. Now, I'm not saying that there are bad doctors out there. They got into this profession because they wanted to help people, but they didn't understand how the system works. I got into it. I wanted to help people as well, so I considered being a medical doctor, which is why I have an emergency medical background. I worked a lot of codes, cardiac arrest. I intubated people in the field, intubated people in the hospital. I even delivered a baby in the back of a car right outside the ER bay. She couldn't make it in fast enough, so we had to grab a OB kit, and we ran out to the car, and sure enough, in the back of the car, she was crowning, but she had already had 2 kids, which means it was going to come faster. So we delivered the baby. Me and the resident clipped the cord, brought him on in. So, man, it was exciting, but unfortunately, it's not helping us. We need something more solid. Next one. So this is your last one. So this is important because, and I'm gonna start at the bottom here because the bottom item is extremely important. I talked about this in the seminar, in the class on Sunday, about your pH. Your pH range is from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral. 7 is neutral. Anything above 7 means alkaline. Anything below 7 is acidic. Over 150 diseases are linked to acidity in the body and oxygen deficiency. So if you have an indicator that's to the left of the green, that means that your body is acidic. That means your blood is fighting to try to maintain its 7.35 to 7.45. That's your blood pH, 7.35 to 7.45. When that range starts to drop, you're between. Now look at the normal range here. According to this technology, it says 3.1 to 3.6. When you're in between 3.1 and 3.6, your blood is neutral to alkaline. That's good. When you drop below that 3.156, you're starting to move into the 6.54 acidic range. The more acidic your blood is, the more acidic your fluid is, the more oxygen deprived your body is. The more alkaline your fluid is, the more alkaline your blood is, the more oxygen rich your fluid is. That's why the pH is so powerful. That's why it's so important, because if we're eating food that's causing our bodies to become more acidic, then we're stripping our bodies and our cells of the oxygen that it needs in order to perform. And anytime the normal healthy cells can't get sufficient oxygen, guess what happens? They mutate and become cancerous cells, because cancer doesn't need oxygen. But I also told you in class that cancer is not a disease, it's a healing mechanism. So when there's no oxygen because of the low pH, because of the acidity, because of the diet, when there's no oxygen and the cells mutate, even cancer cells still have some level of metabolism. Not as much as the healthy cell, but it has some level of metabolism, which still allows the organ to continue functioning. Well, if cancer was going to take us out, it would take us out. It's not cancer that's killing people. It's the toxicity and the ignorance that's killing us, not knowing that it's toxicity. If you clean up the toxic waste condition, the cancer cells are going to do one of two things. They're going to either revert back to healthy cells, or they're going to commit suicide, which is called apoptosis. That means that the cancer is no longer needed. It served its purpose. Its purpose was to buy you as much time as possible until you figured out that there's toxins in the tissue and the cells can't breathe. Well, if you never figure it out, then it will appear that cancer took over your body, but it was never designed to do that, okay? And then hypoxia just means of lack of oxygen. Sometimes that'll be green, even though the pH may be low, because the body is still compensating. Water shortage. Well, are you hydrated enough? A lot of people are dehydrated and don't know it. So your body is anywhere from 60 to 70% water. Anytime I've done any type of measurements on people, sometimes they're in the 40s and sometimes they're in the 50%, which means that they don't have sufficient water flowing through the body. So they have water shortage. They can have water shortage, or it can be normal. Mental power. Mental power has a lot to do with the ability, the mental ability, or yes. So it has mental power. I'm sorry to distract. Mental power has the ability to the ability for you to be able to accomplish something. It could also have a place when it comes down to your memory, mental power. Some people have good, strong mental power. If you tie it in with responsibility, it's the ability to respond. It's the ability to respond to anything that's a threat to your body. If you're in a negative state of mind, then your mental power can be at a decrease. If you're in a negative state of mind, your also ability to respond can be at a decrease. A lot of times over time, we tend to do things that we become accustomed to. And then when there's any type of change or any type of thing that happens that's sudden, if we don't respond properly to it, it's an indication of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like heart-brain coherence. Heart-brain coherence, or heart rate variability. There we go. Heart rate variability. So heart rate variability has to do with how well the heart and the body responds to changes in your environment. The faster they can respond, the healthier you are. The slow response is unhealthy, because that means that the body's going to take longer in order to restore homeostasis. Homeostasis is balance. Well, think about it for a second. A lot of times when we see our scan and we're looking at moderate abnormality or severe, we have now come into a chronic state of imbalance. That means that our responsibility is probably dropping, or our mental power is probably dropping, which could be due to shortage, which could be due to lack of oxygen, which could be due to an acidic pH. Everyone is different. Some people may have all green and just a decrease in their pH. What that means is that the one that's most important on here is the pH. You need to know where your pH is, because that's an indication, because it has already been proven that disease cannot survive in an alkaline body, but it thrives in an acidic body. So knowing that your body is acidic, you want to do something as soon as possible that's going to shift your pH from acid to alkaline. This process does allow you to become alkaline. Within 3 weeks, your body will shift from acid to alkaline. In 3 weeks, we were working on flushing the liver, flushing the kidneys, cleaning out your gastrointestinal tract, getting the mucus out, killing the parasites, restoring balance. And yeah, within 3 weeks, you're off a lot of medication. I'm not going to tell you to get off your medication, but if you're on blood pressure medication, in 7 days, your body is regulating your blood pressure. So you don't need the blood pressure medication. You don't need a doctor to tell you how your body is responding. If you wake up one day and your blood pressure is 120 over 80 because you're 4 days into the cleanse, and then you take your blood pressure medication, guess what? It's going to probably drop down to 109 over 70 something. And now you're going to start feeling a certain way. That's because now the medication is so strong, and it's too strong, your body don't need it anymore. Same with blood sugar. If you wake up one morning and your blood sugar is, 110 or 90, and then you take your diabetes medication, your metformin, it's going to drop it below, and then you're going to start feeling a certain way. After about 7 to 10 days, your body is regulating your blood sugar because you're cleaning your system out. So at that point, you have to make the decision to step away from the medication because you don't need them anymore. And the truth is, medication is not necessarily there to eradicate your condition, only to treat your condition and manipulate your biochemistry. We don't need our biochemistry manipulated unless it's going to heal our body. So now, through the bioscan, you have a choice. You now know that there are things going on in your body that a lot of our parents and grandparents had not the technology to see, which means they couldn't beat the process. They couldn't beat the process of death. They couldn't beat the process of cancer, diabetes, heart disease. They couldn't beat it because they didn't have the information that they needed. Now we have the information, we have the technology, and we can see into the body at the cellular level, at the quantum level, make the necessary changes so that we can start reversing this condition. And guess what? In about, let's say, 3 to 6 months, you scan again. So for the people that was at the All Black National Convention, you scan, go through the cleanse now, come back to the next event, which actually the All Black National Convention is going to be in Chicago, my hometown. So, come back to that event, rescan, and watch how the data changes. Watch how you're moving back towards normal range and no longer towards crisis, back towards balance and no longer towards imbalance. This is what we really want. And yeah, all medication is toxic to the system. I don't care who you are. Medication is toxic. And guess what? The medication has to be processed where? In the liver. So you see, if the liver is the key component to reverse heart disease, diabetes, cancer, but yet you're taking medication and the medication has to be processed in the liver, then you're only making your condition worse and you can never get better. And so there are many doctors that I've talked to and many doctors that I work with, medical doctors, and they will agree with me on everything that I'm telling you right now. They may not voice it out because they'll get ostracized for it. But let me tell you, behind closed doors, they let you know that, hey, man, you know what? This stuff is just taking lives, man. It's not helping people. It's only making them think that it's getting better, but it's really not. Just because your numbers look good don't mean that the body is actually getting healed from the high blood pressure. The high blood pressure happened because the body was sending an alarm off so that you can investigate the underlying toxicity. So, and I think this is it. You had a few questions down there. What's after this, Dr. Ross? Before I open it up to questions.
That's it, sir.
So somebody did say I have high blood pressure, low pains causing or something like that. Now I'm taking. Okay, so yeah. Well, I will say this. You can, once you start taking medication, you will continue to take medication and you will continue to need medication. So you can start the cleanse as soon as you're ready. All you have to do is set up with either Nita, Fred, or Dr. Roz, get to the site. But if you're dealing with anything serious, this is important. If you're dealing with anything serious, make sure I see your bioscan, because if you need anything additional, then I have to put that in there. But you're going to be going through Fred and Anita, who pretty much are the ones that made sure that I got to the All Black National Convention last year and this year. They've set it up in a way where as I speak, as I help people to understand, then they're able, well, what do I mean by serious? Serious is autoimmune disease, stage 1, stage 2, 3, 4 cancer, type 2 diabetes, and you've been doing it for a while now, you're on insulin. You see, some people may just be looking to lose a little weight here and there. Some people may be looking to start to establish some type of balance. But we want to make sure that you have everything you need once you start the process. And we want to make sure that whatever the scan tells us, that we're addressing those issues. And so that's why I say that, make sure that I don't have a problem being a part of your process. I'll be available when I can, but the persons who will take the front row will be the coach Fred, Coach Anita, Dr. Roz, and any other coaches that may be involved in it. But my goal is to make sure that whatever your condition is, that we have given you everything you need in order to be successful on reversing that process. And then you become a testimony next year, as I've had yesterday in the class, 2 testimonies from the previous year. Testimonies are good because it lets you know that it works. The process does work. You don't have to take medication for the rest of your life. Aches and pains, that stuff can go away. In fact, we deal with CBD as well. So, Dr. Ross can tell you more about that. But you want to be able to address pain naturally without the pharmaceutical drugs. Also, you want to eradicate the underlying cause of pain. That's the 2 things you want to do. You want to switch from treating pain with drugs and chemicals to treating it naturally. And then you want to also begin to address the cause of pain in order to remove it permanently. And that's the process. Somebody got their hand raised?
Yes, Dr. Prince. My name is Sabrina, and I've been diagnosed with renal failure, and have been on hematosis dialysis for the last 1.5 years. But interestingly enough, my test results said that my kidneys were good.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, believe it or not,
Biotest.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, and I'm not saying that there's foul play on the medical end, but let me ask you this: what kind of symptoms were you having before they said you had to be on hemodialysis?
I had a lot of swelling in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I had some itchiness under my skin, and I wasn't urinating often, like once or twice a day.
Got you. And so did they test your creatinine levels?
My creatinine level was 9.7.
Okay. And your GFR, your glomerular filtration rate, did you have a number for that?
My GFR, I don't remember it offhand right now.
So how long have you been on hemodialysis? Is this home dialysis, or are you at the center?
I'm in center dialysis, and I've been on there for 1 year and 7 months to date.
Okay. And how would you say you've been feeling since this process? Are you urinating? Are you still urinating?
Well, recently I changed my eating habits, and I've been eating mostly raw vegetables, some cooked vegetables, but no meats, and fruits. And in the past month, I've dropped 20 pounds,
Mhm.
and I've been urinating 4 to 5 times a day.
Got it. Well, there's a good chance that you might have reconciled some things in your body. They're not when people put you on dialysis, their goal is not to take you off unless you're on a kidney transplant list. You have to understand the system and the process.
Yeah,
They're not in
I'm on the transplant list.
right. So remember, I've helped people come off dialysis, not to get another kidney, but to heal and repair their own kidneys. You can heal and repair your own kidneys, and you can come back into, a normal lifestyle without having another organ. Our goal with you would be to begin to start moving you away from dialysis, because there's a good chance your kidneys are doing much better now. But there's no one around to say, hey, why don't we start moving you off dialysis? No one is around to tell you that or to guide you through that process, because they don't have that type of process. Their process, the end game for the medical industry, is the crisis and then the death. That's their end game, the crisis and then the death. They don't have a reversal process. So that conversation is not going to be had with them. That conversation has to be had with us. Our goal is to now reassess, bring you off the dialysis, because there's a good chance you might not even need it anymore. But let's start getting you on a lifestyle after the cleanse that's going to help to preserve your kidney so you won't have to be on a transplant list. If you don't need another kidney, then why? Take it.
Yeah.
You've made
So
some of the adjustments.
I have asked that question about like what should my creatinine level be to come off of dialysis, and they told me that it needed to be under 1, but everything that I've done in research says that it needs to be between 1 and 2, and I do believe that my kidneys can be healed. I just need the guidance to do it because I'm 100% committed to having healed kidneys.
Gotcha. Well, I'm in agreement with you. So let us work with you and get you squared away. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Dr. Prince,
Yes.
this is Anna in Houston.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Great.
I did a 13-year-old scan over the weekend that had a red vascular resistance.
Hmm.
Her parents said the doctor told them to feed her plenty or feed her red meat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to find out. I told them that she needed to do a cleanse, a detox cleanse, but I'm also trying to find out what other measures, some other type of diet that might help her get it moving back in the right direction.
Right, right. Well, the youngest child that I've ever cleansed was 5 years of age. 5. The reason we cleansed that child was because that child was having fevers all the time. Every few weeks, the child would have a fever. Well, it turned out that that child was fighting some of the toxicity from the vaccine schedule. And that can be stressful on children, because there are more injections now than there was when I was a kid. So they're pumping a lot of our kids with more poison. These kids now that are coming out, that's anywhere from 15 on down, these kids are designed differently. They're not designed to take all the poisons that we're taking now. We're more resilient in a sense. Their immune system is rejecting a lot of these poisons, and the response to that is like what you're seeing is the vascular resistance increase. The body is rejecting, the body is under attack. What is it going to do under attack? It's going to mount up, and it's going to start to build this resistance against all of this stuff that we're trying to impose upon them. So then the doctor says, hey, let's feed them more meat. Well, that's the problem. You know, my son, Aviel Zion Prince, he's 10 years of age and he's never had meat. You know, he doesn't have stress. He's a pleasant child. We breastfed him for years, 3 years. So he got everything natural. No meat, no animal consumption, and he doesn't miss it. And that's what lead me to believe that the only reason we love that chicken from Popeyes is because our parents imposed it upon us. Once they start giving us them chicken nuggets and it started tasting good with that barbecue sauce, that was it. It was over. We had a new addiction. But that doesn't mean it was healthy. It just means that when we were younger, we were able to process it better and get rid of it. But now our bodies are starting to fight it. The children that are coming out, and you have to understand evolution. Evolution has to do with the things that need to be corrected in nature in the world. Giraffes didn't always have long necks. Giraffes had shorter necks, but their necks evolved over time based upon the conditions that they had to be in. So with human beings, we're evolving. So our next generation of children are coming out with different genetics to defend against some of the poisons and the toxic habits that we impose upon them. So when they start getting sick, we look at them like, oh man, they're sickly kids. They're not sickly. They're just not tolerating the poisons that we put in their bodies now. So the wrong thing to do is to think that the medical doctor can correct that. He can't. They're the cause of it. And I know that because when I had asthma and I had to go back and forth to Children's Memorial Hospital when I had a asthma attack, they pumped me full of albuterol and probably put some steroids in me. And I felt better. I can breathe. So I thought they were my heroes until I later found out that it was because of the vaccine schedule that I even developed asthma. So it's almost like they presented the problem, watched the reaction, and then gave the solution. Kind of like with the pandemic. Created the problem, watched the reaction, and then gave a solution. We got to get away from the medical treatment when it comes to degenerative conditions. Even stress. Medical doctors don't deal with the mind, they deal with the body. So there may be something going on in that child's life that needs to be addressed from a mental and emotional perspective that could be causing an imbalance in their body. But they don't need more meat. More meat is just going to make it worse. They need to detoxify their system. She can detoxify, or that child can detoxify successfully. And guess what? It'll take that vascular resistance out of the red and put it back in the yellow, ultimately back in the blue, and at some point back in the green. And then change that child's diet. Don't keep giving them the animal protein. Let them start investigating some of the plant protein out there, because we weren't designed to eat meat. And so if God is evolving us as human beings, then the next generation of human beings coming in are going to be less prone to consume and adjust to the animal consumption. Now think about that. Why is that important? It's important because if it takes longer to adapt, let me see, how can I put this? You don't want to, these children aren't going to adapt to the poison. So therefore, their immune system is going to be on high alert, which means it's going to trigger rapidly, as opposed to us, where it took years for us to get to a certain place where our body starts rejecting the poison. That means that our body has been adapting to the poison over time, but at the cost of shortening our lifespan. So think about the children coming in whose system is not going to adapt. It's just going to say no, which means that it's not going to take years. It's going to react now to that poison. And we ain't used to that reacting now because we see that as acute. We see that as an emergency. So we think we got to take him to the medical doctor in order to treat this condition. But they don't have a condition. They just don't tolerate the poison like we do. So get her cleansed, modify the diet. We can talk at a later date,
Okay.
to make sure that it goes well. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Prince, you have 2 raised hands.
Okay. Who's first?
guess I'll go first. Thank you so much for this, Dr. Prince. This is, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, so thank you so much for doing this, Dr. Prince. And I had my scan done at ABNC, which was wonderful. Thank you all for coming out. I I was looking at my scan, right, and I'm like in the pH that's acidic. So I'm like, okay, like I already see me do some things, and I've been looking at a water alkalizer.
Mhm.
I just been looking into it. I've been seeing how like there are some spring waters that aren't necessarily alkaline, and you
Mhm.
think that you're hydrating, but you're not.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's something that's necessary, or can your detox and cleanse just kind of be like really
Right. Well,
more alkaline?
so you got a couple of options with alkaline. I would actually recommend getting an alkaline water machine. Reason I say that is because the alkaline water machine, if you get the right one, it attaches to your water source, your water faucet, and what it does is it filters the tap water. It filters your own water, and then it ionizes your own water. So now you've just made alkaline water that's at a high pH. And I had been doing that for quite some time. That was one of the first things I did back in 2007, 2008 is got my own alkaline water machine, even before the stores was willing to sell them, even before the grocery stores were willing to take them. I had to go around demonstrating how powerful the alkaline water was as opposed to Dasani, which is acidic, as opposed to Aquafina, which is acidic. They give us a tester. So you can test it. It's like a red solution, and you got your water. You put 2 drops in there, and what happens is that it'll change colors. Well, if it turns red to yellow, it's acidic. But if it turns anywhere from green to purple, it's alkaline. So I started testing all the waters online. I started doing it on videos. I started going to different places, different events, and showing people about all the different waters. And what they found out is, like you said, there are certain waters that are actually acidic, which means there are certain waters that promote disease instead of health. There are certain waters that promote diabetes instead of health, which means that we need to know what type of water we're drinking, because if our bodies is anywhere from 60 to 70% water and we're drinking acidic water, then that will explain why our bodies is also acidic. We need alkaline water to neutralize the acid from the food that we're eating so that we can maintain our balance. But yeah, sometimes you might have to get a tester to test your water to know what kind of water you're drinking. And once you find the water that works best for you, that's alkaline, then that's the water you want to stay with. One of my favorite waters is Essence. That's kind of 10.0. That may be a little bit too high for people, but Essentia, which is 9.5. That's a good one. But there's a lot of different alkaline waters. But on the cleanse, you will be doing alkaline water through the process. The cleanse itself is an alkaline process. The water helps to neutralize the waste as it's coming up so that you won't have discomfort during the cleanse. Because I will say this, cleanse can be a little uncomfortable in the first few days because your body is adjusting. But that's why you want to make sure you're drinking alkaline water through the process, so that way you won't detox too fast, because you can detox too fast. Your body is, trust me, your body is ready and waiting to throw off all them toxins as fast as possible. So as soon as you decide that you want to cleanse and you want to stop eating the food that's causing the acid waste buildup, then immediately your body's going to start releasing all of these toxins. And if you don't neutralize those molecules, those acidic molecules fast enough, then they're going to make you feel like you have a disease crisis, and you're going to find yourself going to the ER just because you're detoxing. So it's important to drink that water through the process, and then afterwards, keep drinking. I've been drinking alkaline water since 2007. That's how long I've been drinking it. That's why I was able to go back to running track and field, because a battery needs alkalinity. So every human being has the potential to become a rechargeable battery. That means a battery that never dies. Okay.
Exactly. Can you recommend what type of alkalizer you use?
One I use is Kangen alkaline water. Kangen is Kangen. Kangen alkaline water machine. They have great models. They have models that range from 1,500 all the way up to 6,000. And trust
Oh,
me, if you really wanna master your life in this water thing, you want to look into an alkaline water machine, because by the time you buy water throughout the years, you'll realize that all the money that you spent on water, you could have just got your own machine and you create your own
okay.
alkaline water. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Prince.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to hear from you.
There is another hand from Daryl and Sabrina Rice. And then there's two questions in the chat that we'd like to answer. And then we're going to kind of round it up. We are going to be here again next week, same time, same Zoom call. But can we let Sabrina and Daryl unmute and ask their question, please?
Sabrina and Daryl,
Good afternoon, Dr. Prince. How you doing?
how you doing, Daryl?
Yes, sir. Good. Thank you. Thank you for having this, and thank the Sheltons once again. I have a two-part question. I hear the terminology of plant-based food versus plant protein,
Mm-hmm.
and then what's the difference, or is there a difference? And secondly, I've been told that if you boil your tap water, bring it to a boil and let it cool and add lemon, that will alkalize the water as well. Is that
Okay,
correct?
okay. Well, you know what? The boiling is good because the boiling helps to kill off some of the bacteria that may be in there, some of the toxins. The lemon is always gonna make the water alkaline. The question would be, how alkaline is it? You know, unless you test it, you don't know. But a lot of people put lemon in their water and they don't boil it, and they'll still probably have a little alkalinity into it. But if you boil it and put the lemon in it, you'll be buying a lot of lemons. But at the same
Right.
time, but it's one of the things where if you're out eating and you get some water at a restaurant, you're asking for a few lemons, put your lemons in there, and you may be able to neutralize whatever acidity may be in there. So that's
Okay.
one. And then when it comes to let me say this, all protein comes from plants. All protein comes from plants. Somehow we got duped into thinking that we need to eat animals and meat in order to get our protein. But you look at a gorilla, look at an elephant, look at a giraffe, look at a horse, cow. These are strong beings and they don't eat meat. You know, when you ask a person, when you see a person, you say, man, that man is as strong as an ox. When have you ever seen an ox eating meat? A
Yes, sir. You
horse.
don't.
When you think of power, you think of horsepower. But horses don't eat meat either. So it was all propaganda in order to get us to a certain state that would allow for the agenda to be successful. And so far, that agenda has definitely been successful because there's a lot of wealthy people that built their wealth on our ignorance. So what is this? This is our way of opening up the door to knowledge and information so that we can start doing things different. So yeah, I say plant-based all the way. We don't need animal protein. It's all it is an addiction. And let me say this, I'm not judging anyone that eats meat because I was a devout meat eater. I love meat. I love the chicken. I love beef, pork. There was nothing I really didn't eat. But when I got the call from God to make some changes for his people, I made the sacrifice. And I'm grateful that I did, because had I not done that, had I not gone plant-based, had I not gone vegan, I would be afraid of what sacrifice I would have made otherwise. So it's definitely important for you to investigate more plant-based. Look at Gardein. Gardein is spelled Gardein. 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 I do a lot of Gardein. Gardein is plant-based. You know, they got all type of cool plant-based food. Check it out, investigate it, eat it every now and again throughout the week, in between your regular meals, and just start looking into more meals that's more plant-based, and watch how your body feels. Watch how your energy level goes. Watch how much you're moving your bowels by going plant-based. Your body just needs a break from the stress. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And one more question to follow up. Is soy good or bad for kidneys?
Soy, it depends on how it's processed. I mean, yeah, soy is plant. You know, it's not as bad as you think it is, but it does carry some level of estrogen in it, which is why some people say it's bad. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't recommend soy being your sole source of protein. You want to mix it in. You may want rice protein. You may want some pea protein in there. Some people do wheat gluten. Some people do wheat protein. It depends on what works with you. But soy is not the sole. In fact, I may do tofu every now and again, but not all the time. But remember, I said that at estrogen, so we want to keep those estrogen levels down. So remember, it's all things in moderation. It's not what you do some of the time. It's what you're doing all of the time. So every now and again, it's okay, but yeah, don't indulge in it too much.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Dr. Prince, there
Yeah.
was two questions that are kind of related. One was how does the detox work and what does it consist of? So can you briefly just describe the three formulas and then and I know when you purchase it, the instructions are there, but can you just give us a brief overview?
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you a few questions while we're going through this. So one of the things about the process is that you do have three products initially that starts the process off. One is the superfood, which we call the regenerator. I also call it longevity nutrition. And I call it longevity because it helps with maintaining and sustaining your vitamin and mineral profile. The Parasite Mucus Buster is designed to clean and clear the mucus out your system at the same time, killing any parasites that may be living in your system and in your gut for years. And then, of course, the liquid colonic, which is called the Purifier, that is designed to clean, like liquid Drano, to clean and clear out the whole sewer system. Any blockage in your stomach, any blockage in your small intestines and your large intestines. No healing can take place in your body until you have cleaned your sewer system out. Because as soon as you clear your sewer system, your gastrointestinal tract, your body sends a signal to the rest of the organs to release their waste. So if you have a fatty liver, as soon as you clean out that gut, it's going to send a message to that liver to start releasing those fatty deposits, to the kidneys to start releasing those fatty deposits and all that toxic waste, the urobility, the bun, the uric acid. And that's how you release, you let it go. Nothing was meant to be held up or stored in the body. It was all meant to be released. But the problem is that your body doesn't recognize foreign substance or toxic substance. So all it can do is store it. So in order to get your body moving and flushing and detoxifying, these are three products that you need initially to start off. And you're on a raw fruit and vegetable juice regimen. So on that regimen, you're going to have probably about 3 recipes for the juice that you're going to choose from. The first week, we usually recommend like the juice that has the ginger in it because the ginger is anti-inflammatory. So it helps with reducing inflammation immediately. And then you follow a routine. And based upon that routine, you're going to be doing your herbs and supplements into your juice throughout the process. What you're going to notice is that you're not as hungry as you thought you was going to be. You're not eating a lot of food, but you're not hungry. You know why you're not hungry? Because you're feeding your cells, not your body. Well, I know your cells are your body, but you know what I mean? You're feeding your cells, you know, because when you feed the body starts growing and getting bigger. But when you feed the cells, your body actually starts getting smaller because you're actually correcting the deficiency. Anytime a lot of times we may eat a meal, but then a few hours later, we're hungry again. Well, why are we so hungry all the time? Because the meal may not have been nutrient rich. program is nutrient rich, calorie poor. The food we eat on a regular basis is calorie rich, nutrient poor. So that's why we're doing all this weight gaining, because we're not targeting what the people need, which is nutrition to the cells. That's what's so important about the process and the detox program. You will need a juice extractor, just so you'll know. Not a blender, not a bullet, not a Ninja, unless it's a bullet juicer, but I don't know about those either. But you know, you need a juice extractor where the pulp is taken out, but the juice is extracted. You don't want something that's going to pulverize everything, because remember, you're cleaning out your gut. So you don't want to wait, and you don't want to probably lose any of the nutrition because you pulverize it and now it's sitting in your gut waiting to digest. The liquid is digested from the time you drink it. And because it's at such a molecular level, it's absorbing into your system even before it gets into your gut. Because remember, we're cleaning out the mucus in your gastrointestinal tract. We're also cleaning out the waste in your gastrointestinal tract. So it behooves you to be drinking a pure liquid nutrition that can help to flood your body with nutrition as you're cleaning out your gastrointestinal tract. Trust me, I've worked for years to troubleshoot this process, and man, it works even with just the 3 products. But like I said, if you're dealing with something, you know, more urgent, more, you know, serious, then make sure I'm on that call. Make sure I get your bioscan so that we can make sure you have everything you need in that regimen. And then I also want to make sure we go over that regimen with you. When you purchase this process, you make sure you connect with us so we can go over that regimen, because I don't want you just looking at paper instruction. Now, our coaches are designed to go over the regimen with you. I don't care if there's 200 of you that need to go over the regimen. We're going to go over those regimens with you, because that's the beginning of your support. I want you to feel the support of the coaches, because that's our job. Our job is to support you through the process, make sure that you're following the regimen to a T so that you can get the results that you want. And that's what makes the program successful. Nothing else, nothing more. Okay. So somebody did say something about toxins in the water. Yeah. Right. Boiling the water may be better. Whey protein comes from animals. So I would say if you're going to do any type of protein, we do have a protein mix in our repertoire. We call it the protein blast. It's a blaster. So that's something you can also order from us as well. Protein powder. It doesn't take the place of a cleanse, because you want to cleanse and detox, but you can also, if it's your first time cleansing, you can get the protein powder for when you finish the cleanse and now you want to continue to investigate more plant-based protein, whether you put it in your drinks, whether you put it in your juice after the cleanse. Now you're working on plant protein and your body processes it better. Just try to see what happens. You'll see a difference, because your body will be happy that you're not inundating it with animal protein. And yes, some products are GMO. You may have to do some reading. You know, you can't just go and just buy anything without looking and reading what's going on. You might have to do some research on certain products, and, you know, because there's a lot of genetically modified stuff out there, and that doesn't help us at all either. But if you go to a restaurant, you want to ask them, is your food organic? Is it genetically modified? You know, they may tell you, they may not, but you're gonna have to do the research on it and investigate it. But if you're making your food at home, then yeah, you have more control over what you're putting in your body. And then Fred and Anita and Dr. Raj, you guys are gonna have to just kind of follow up with everybody who wants to start the process, who wants to get moving, who, because once you put your order in, products are shipped to you. You set your start date, but before you start, make sure one of us is going over that regimen with you. Do not start without us going over the regimen, because you don't know what you're doing. Make sure a coach goes over the regimen. I'll go over it if I have to with you, but I don't want you starting because you represent change in this world. And if you're not successful, then we hurt longer. Our people hurt longer, and we die faster. So you got to understand my passion as it pertains to this. I don't want you doing this alone. Yeah, you may be able to, but don't. Join with us. Be coachable. Be trainable. And watch what happens, okay? Any more questions? I'm looking on here to see anything I need to answer. Phase 1, it's up to you. I have nothing against phase 1. A lot of times people are scared. They're scared of the cleansing process, and they may want to kind of roll on into it. You don't have to be scared of it. Because if you've never cleansed before, then there's a good chance you need 3 weeks of detoxification. The only reason people fear is because they anticipate that they're going to be hungry or something during the cleanse, or they're going to fail. They're going to go 7 days and they're going to stop. Well, that's why we have coaches. That's why we have somebody you can call or talk to, or someone's going to call you to make sure that everything is going properly. Yeah, you can't do it with your own strength, because it's through your own bad habits that you created the experience and the lifestyle that you have. So therefore, trying to do it yourself, yeah, you're gonna fail, because your subconscious program does not support your new wishes and desires. Let me say that again. Your subconscious programming does not support your new wishes and desires. So therefore, you need a coach to help you to override your own bad habits. So accept the coach, accept the process program, get the juicer, put this process in your life forever. And you'll see years that nobody in your family has ever seen. Young, not old and decrepit, okay? I think they put some websites on there, so.
Yes, for those of you from the ABNC, you have our website. It's actually on the email we sent with your scan, and feel free to call myself or Fred. Fred is actually off tomorrow, so if you have time during the day, feel free to call him at 314-757-6966, and I'll put that in the chat, and we will get you started. We want to walk you through the process because we want to make sure that everything is done correctly. So feel free to call us anytime. And as we said, Dr. Roz does this every Tuesday, and we're excited to have Dr. Prince on with us this week and next week. And again, if there's any one-on-ones that need to be scheduled, please contact me, and I will make sure that I set those up for you.
And if anyone has any allergies to certain things, let us know so we can make certain adjustments. There are adjustments we can make depending on how severe that allergy is, but you should be able to do well on the process, because this is all natural stuff. The only kind of reaction you may have is if taking medication. Doctors tell you not to do natural stuff, fruits and vegetables, because it will react with your medication. Well, that's not the direction we want to go. We're not trying to facilitate more medication in our bodies. We're trying to facilitate more healing in our bodies. So the goal is for us to go to more natural stuff in order to help our body. There's a lot of times, if you're dealing with allergies, you may be dealing with a leaky gut. And if you're dealing with a leaky gut, then in order to mend those allergies, you have to heal the gastrointestinal lining. And guess what? You'll find yourself not being as allergic. Allergies don't have to be permanent. Those can be corrected, believe it or not. But you got to go through the holistic process to do it. Any more questions? I'm just looking to see if so hope you guys are all clear about a fatty liver. Fatty liver is basically just It's the absence of yearly cleansing. That's all it is. It's the absence of yearly cleansing. And it's all of the years of accumulated waste and toxins and alcohol, whatever you've been doing over the years. It's all accumulating in the liver. Your body at some point was able to throw it off without a problem. But as you get older, the habits get worse. You're not as active. We're still eating the same thing. We're still eating like our parents. So that's why we tend to pass down certain genetic predispositions. But you're not bound by your genes. You're only bound to your genes based upon your lifestyle. You change your lifestyle, you can rewrite your genes, okay? I don't know if we have anyone in California, but might have somebody in Arizona. So you might have to take a trip if you need to, if you haven't scanned.
Is there someone who needs a scanner in California? Because we do have one in California.
Okay, great. Z Scott, she said my gastrointestinal stats are bad and she wants to cleanse, but she said, where can she find someone in California to get another bioscan? So hold on, you guys. Thank you all for your patience. Fred and Anita's numbers on here as well.
Excuse me, Dr. Prince?
Yeah.
One quick, this is Daryl Rice again. One quick question.
Yeah.
I keep hearing the terminology leaky gut, but I don't have a clear explanation what that means. Because I've heard your thyroid can be part of your leaky gut. It's part of the autoimmune system. So what is actually leaky gut?
Well, a leaky gut it represents little small perforations, little small holes in your gastrointestinal lining. Obviously, this comes from erosion, based upon food that we're eating, based upon digestion. Hey, Carla, I see y'all over there. Based upon digestion. When you start corroding that gastrointestinal lining and it starts causing little peripheral holes in there, then what you eat can seep through microscopically through those holes into your bloodstream. So what that means is that if something gets into your bloodstream, because there's a barrier between your gastrointestinal tract and your bloodstream, but there's also a gate that regulates what goes into your bloodstream. But if you got holes in your gastrointestinal lining, that's not a standard gate into your bloodstream. So that means that you're gonna probably be having little small particles, microscopic particles of food that will slip through those perforations, those little holes. And once it gets into the bloodstream, now you have a whole nother issue, because whatever comes into the bloodstream is gonna be tagged by your immune system. When your immune system tags it, it's gonna remember it and it's gonna react to it every time you eat it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No problem. I want you to know the truth.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But the cleanse is designed to repair the leaky gut, just so you know.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. The glutamine can help. A lot of things can help, but it's more of what can really eradicate it permanently. There's a lot of things that can address it, that can treat it, but we got to get out of the world of treatment. We need a whole process that's going to reverse the reason why we have a leaky gut. We don't want to damage the body and then just tape it up. No, we want to reverse the damage. So we need more than glutamine. We need more than parasite mucus buster. We need more than liquid colonic tea. We need the whole process. We need all of the above to turn it around. That's why age reversal is so important, because it's about reversing the entire process that led us down the road to degeneration. We want to reverse that entire process, not just patch it here and there. You keep on patching stuff, and now you don't even know what the underlying cause of it is. So let's get to the underlying cause. let's correct the general issue. And then guess what? All the local issues start going away. We address the general that leads to the local. The healthcare system today, so-called, addresses the locals, and they don't look at the general. So that's the difference. We want to address the general in order to eradicate the locals. Okay. So, Helen, we have to set a day where we can go over it. There shouldn't be a problem because a lot of people are on here. So, if you came in late, let Anita and Fred know, and then we can coordinate with you throughout the week to go over everything. Because I want everybody to be clear on their reports. Okay. And well, like I said, we'll do another one next week. For people that couldn't be here this week. Okay. But if there are.
Okay, well, I just want to wrap this up a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
We can be on all night.
No, we can't be on. We can't be on all night.
So please contact myself or Fred directly, and we will set up one-on-ones. If there are any questions, please feel free to call me directly. Helen, I will contact you. I will contact you personally, and again, anyone who needs to contact us personally, please do, and we will be following up with all the A, B, and C. We're so happy that you're here with us. We so appreciate you allowing us this opportunity, and we will be here again the same time next week, but I will be in touch with you all before then. And feel free to be in touch with me.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. And Anita, I have a question for you. Is anyone on here, would they be able to get a recording of this that didn't get their information?
I think Dr.
Does that
Ross
work?
will be recording this, but
Can it be sent to anybody that might have missed it?
Dr. Ross, can we accommodate that?
It's always recorded.
Okay, so can that be sent to someone who might have come in, late and want to just hear about the bioscan part?
Absolutely.
Please contact us directly and we'll take care of it.
Okay, so yeah, Helen Weaver, if you're out there, we can probably send you some updates from because we recorded it. So if we send it to you, you can kind of sit back and go over it, at your own pace. So, so reach out to us and let us know, okay, if that's something you want to do. All right. All right. So, hey, it was great talking to you guys. I'll be around. And I look forward to working with you. But in the meantime, may the Lord God bless you and keep you, cause his light to shine upon you, be gracious to you, show you favor, grant you everlasting peace, health, and wellness all the days of your life, and much success on the cleanse and detoxification process. Thank you.